Hey everyone, I'm proud to announce the release of my new single, Spring of '07. Just came out this weekend. It's a little homage to an adventure me and some old high school and college buddies went on back in April 2007, and thought it would be fun to make a classic trance tune with a little bit of old Ace to Brain and Phalanx vibes with a groovy bass line, and give it that same sunny, cheery vibe as our little afternoon outing up in the North Cascades up at Ross Dam. So join me for a little adventure into what went into making the track. So in the beginning, there was melody, or more specifically, it was a JP 8080 pad that's doing the big chords here in the kind of vague vibe of Pervading Call 2 and Ace to Brain's old Ace's Delight tracks. And it sounds a little something like this. Now, in order to pull off that sound, because it's actually 2 octave layers and also several different stereo layers, because the JP 8080 doesn't really have a pan spread like the Rev 2 or the Virus does, and so you kind of have to do everything as like a big stereo sound or as a mono sound, and that can mess with your mix if you forget to leave one of the steps in or out. So I started with the center channel, so that way, no matter what device you're playing it on, you can still hear the riff when you play it back, because everything plays mono, but not everything does stereo. And then I recorded left and right channels, and I've just got them all routed into a bunch of submixes here, so that way, as the track goes along, I can balance everything out properly with gain staging and with individual EQs for different layers, like for the high stereo section, for the high pads, for doing the high octave stuff. I've, got a parametric EQ here that's high passing the sound, so I don't have a lot of frequency clutter and interference going on. And so that's how I did the pads for that one. And I add, a tiny bit of side chaining. Let's see, what do I have on my master? Yeah, so I got, a little LFO tool, some Valhalla room, a minor compressor, because these vintage virtual analog synthesizers have a tendency to create little weird volume spikes and have transients and stuff because they're trying to emulate proper analog behavior, kind of. And so that's how that works. Running down on the bottom end of the breakdown, I also have this bass pad that does a lot of low end to fill out the mix in the breakdown. Oh no, that's the ambient pad. That's off the Virus. This is the bass pad, and the bass pad comes off the Rev 2, which has the amazing function with its pan spread in unison and in like single sound mode of doing fully mono compatible sounds. So this super deep, warm bass pad that I've got here sums back to mono just fine and still has a lot of its original character, and it's real nice. And the ambient pad that I have in here, I just kind of followed along the vibe that I use in my Alpenglow style tracks, so that you can get this warm, sunny, gentle vibe before everything gets a lot more big and epic with the big super saws. Then of course, the real foundation of the track, the part that everybody really cares about in any dance tune, is the bass line. And that one is all Rev 2. I'm just doing a single layer for the Rev 2 bass here. And I didn't saturate it too much or do any super heavy processing. For the bass line, I kept it pretty simple. I have a little compressor to tame some transients because, analog hardware. And then I've got an EQ, which I've got a little bit pulled out of the mid-range here in order to cut some mud. I've got this going here. I have an additional EQ that I have set up that's got this frequency tab routed to the kick drum with a peak controller, so that every time the kick hits, the sub frequencies up to about 100, 125 or so hertz just kind of get auto high passed out on a pretty wide slope, so that I don't lose too much low end doing that, and so it's not super obvious. but that way I can maintain this groovy vibe with this super groovy kind of house-like bass line, and it doesn't interfere with the kick. And then I just have it gain staged, and because it's a sub bass, I've got Ozone Imager 2 here that's just set to mono to pull it down to center. And in order to get some width and some so on in the middle of the mix for the track, I've got an Omnisphere channel that's got some crazy little gated sounds. I've got gated pads, I've got a few additional sounds that are pan modulated and set to spread around in the stereo field. Because, yeah, so as you can see, I've got alternate, so it bounces back and forth with the panning so that way it sums back to mono. And so it adds mid-range grit and width to the sound without needing to do any extra trickery with the bass. And I kept it really simple for this because the analog bass fills out a lot of the mix really nicely, and I wanted to emphasize the bass line. Lately, I've been trying to stick to a production paradigm of keeping my mixes as simple as possible and as stripped down as possible so that you can focus on each individual elements without a lot of additional clutter. Overdoing things in a mix tends to make it a lot harder to keep things clean, and you end up losing a lot of punch in the mix by doing that. So I'm just stripping it back almost, not quite, but almost back to 90s level and style production values. I'm not using old samplers, and I'm not using an Amiga or anything, or a Commodore for production. I'm not quite that old school, but I'm just following some of the basic production paradigms of using basically what's just built into the tools and emulating modern behavior within that context. And I think it works out pretty well. And so, for those of you who want to hear what this song sounded like before I ran it off to my mastering guy down in Australia, this is how the original track sounded, just all on its own. For those of you who are a bit curious about why I was messing around with an imager and why I've got this EQ on my master channel, The simple explanation is that this I normally set to mono mode and then mute, and then I mute and unmute it during production to check for phase cancellation in my mixes. So it helps me make sure everything sounds good on expensive PA systems and headphones and crappy phone speakers. And that's just a 20 hertz roll off high pass EQ to roll out any infrasonic rumble that may have been introduced by plugins or other effects while doing general mixing and so on. And yeah, that's pretty helpful because most PA systems don't really bother with anything under 30 hertz anyway, for which my own kick drums that I use in my tracks, I always high pass at about 30 hertz and then roll off, just above the point where the kick has all its transients and so on, so it maintains brightness and all of that without being super present and annoying with that. And in this particular tune, my mastering guy actually had me do another thing because the Vengeance kick that I was using was way too bassy and it was overpowering the mix. So he had me pull down the sub bass frequencies under 63 or so hertz by almost 4 dB in order to level it off with the rest of the track. And actually, when I was trying to master the original, or the middle version of this back in 2019, I was running into a lot of kick drum, bass, and low frequency roll off issues with the Ozone mastering stuff I was using back in those days. And so I guess that's just a baked in feature of some kick drums. And so I had to do that manually here. And just this little minor change really helped a lot with everything. But besides that, the mixing on this was pretty straightforward and simple. Just a lot of stereo field management and a lot of EQing out stuff. But I try to avoid notch EQing where and when possible because it cuts out a lot of body from sounds to do that too much. Sometimes it's essential for mid-range mud or for high frequency and upper mid sibilance and harshness, but as much as possible, I try to avoid doing that and just let the sounds be raw and on their own with just reverb, some basic subtractive EQing, and very minor compression for transients when necessary. So that's pretty much all that went into producing all of this. So enjoy the tune. I'll see you all over on Spotify, and you can catch me at future gigs, and you will definitely hear this at some of those. Take it easy, everybody. Have a safe and fun winter week here.